Good evening. Well, the State of the Union is the biggest speech of the year for a sitting president. Been that way for decades. Last night, more than 23 million people across our country and more than 200,000 of you in the Twin Cities area tuned in to watch it. But it didn't take long for anyone watching to figure out, like I said, not a whole lot of unity in that room. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene yelled out liar at President Biden when he was speaking. Another Republican representative used expletives. Speaker McCarthy tried to shush them. Biden sparred back. All of it giving more evidence that the state of our union is just a bit of a mess when it comes to parties actually working together for you, the American people. And speaking of that, an issue that is critical to all Americans, actually that set off a lot of that sparring and ugliness, is one Kent is here to talk about: the fight over the future of Social Security and Medicare.
Yeah, Jana, even suggesting changes to Social Security and Medicare have proven hugely unpopular with voters. But these programs are also in serious need of attention, or a lack of funding will force changes. But that brings us to last night, and one of the most explosive and bizarre few minutes of political theater you will see, with a whole lot of history behind it.
Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant. But it's being proposed. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you.
To be clear, President Biden's controversial comments about Republicans and Social Security that set off even more controversial outbursts was more about politics than politeness, according to Washington Post senior political reporter Aaron Blake.
Who is he talking about, first of all?
Well, what President Biden was talking about is a proposal put forward last year by Senator Rick Scott from Florida that would require Congress to reauthorize federal programs every 5 years.
Anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal.
But as you might have guessed from that Republican reaction, Blake says the reality is that proposal was never very popular and never went anywhere.
What we saw was almost instantly Republican leadership was distancing itself from this proposal, recognizing that it would be attached to those entitlement programs.
So why did the president raise the issue in the first place? Just keep watching.
As we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be sponsored.
Blake says this kind of political theater was likely a way to put Republicans on the spot and in the spotlight.
We got unanimity
on an issue that will become key as he works with Congress to raise the debt limit.
Republicans are talking about balancing the federal budget. It's very difficult to balance the budget if you're not touching entitlements, though, if you're not touching defense spending, if you're not raising taxes. So if you're taking these things off the table, you're not talking about balancing the budget. The question is really, what are Republicans talking about if they're serious about major spending cuts?
We will not cut Social Security. We will not cut Medicare.
But even if that holds true, Blake says Republicans and Democrats are well aware that Medicare faces insolvency in 2028 and Social Security in 2035, meaning cuts will come then unless they can agree on real solutions.
You have a situation where people don't want to talk about this. They don't want to put their proposals on paper like Rick Scott did. And it leads to this kind of static situation where nothing is happening.
It sounds like you're saying it's easier to scream and fight about it than it is to do something about it.
As is true with pretty much everything in politics. It's likely nothing actually will happen until the situation gets much closer to something amounting to a crisis and people are really seeing in the very near future that these benefits are not going to be there for them. It's not exactly a profile in courage that Congress conducts itself in this way, but it's certainly a reality of our current state of government, especially when things are so polarized.
And here's the thing. Although Social Security and Medicare are hugely popular, it's also hugely difficult to understand because what comes out of our checks doesn't stay with us. The latest analysis found that Social Security now has a 75-year deficit, and if nothing changes, benefits will be cut by 20% within just 12 years. Jana.
And Aaron makes this fantastic point, Kent. It's that it gets lost in the noise, not on the Democrats' watch and not on the Republicans' watch. At least those elected right now are going to do anything about this, about that deadline.
Yeah, because any time you talk about this, it is hugely unpopular, and elections are won and lost with this kind of stuff. And so what do? You wait until it's broken.
Yeah, you pass it on to the next generation. All right, thanks, Kent, so much.